Good morning. The topic we have today is the stored emotional hurts. Like I have mentioned in the invite, stored emotional hurts are just not wounds, they are unmet developmental truths waiting to be seen correctly. How many of us have these stored emotional hurts? Something the way you see it is something happens and we deeply feel emotional about it. We cannot generalize it as a, an abstract thing. You cannot say a person is a person, cannot treat all 18-year-olds as a similar ones. The generalization, all children must be happy, is is somewhere where we are not seeing a person as a person. We just assume that a person of certain age, a certain role in the society, in the family, are a certain way. We ignore their developmental stage, we ignore their age, and somewhere we also ignore the inner needs at that moment in life. I may be 58, but if I have this stored emotional hurt, then I can behave like a 5 year old in certain situations, right? So, somewhere something was not seen correctly by the caretakers around, and it got stuck in me as an emotional hurt, right? So, it is like not recognizing what the child needed at certain time. I'll give you an example. When that West Bengal medical student was raped, and that happened about 6, 8, maybe a year ago now. One of the teachers in one of the schools that I visit, I happened to visit the school at that time. She's like, "Ma'am, do something that I can go to America. I just want to leave India." I'm like, okay. I mean, she was doing her final year in her college and quite a possibility to go out as a student visa. So I found out, I mean, how are your grades? It's very difficult. Even if you get a scholarship, you still have to have a lot of money to go. And does their family has money? She said, no, nothing like that. Do you have any sources where you can get a bank loan? She said, no, we cannot pledge anything either to get a bank loan. And how could you go? I said, well, one other reason is to get married and go. She said, no way I can get married. So why do you want to leave? This incident, you heard about this incident, it irritates me so much. And instantly I was like, were you sexually molested? Did you experience anything like that till now? And she burst out and inconsolably. And then she was like, no, you will never believe if I tell you what happened. I said, well, it's your choice. You don't have to tell. But if you think it will be a little lighter on you, or, I mean, I promise that I keep it confidential. Your name will never come out anywhere. And then she goes, my father sexually abused me since I was 8 years old. And she's fighting so fiercely to protect her younger sister. Though mother was around, mother was helpless. So this is like a deep emotional hurt that gets triggered at the drop of the hat when something similar happens. In a way that you cannot even understand why such a person is behaving in such erratic way. And you see that with all of us in different situations. Someone talks a certain way, and I get extremely hypersensitive and I cannot tolerate it. Again, there are two ways. One, I burst out, one, I withdraw. So when we carefully look at it, they are those like frozen developmental moments. This particular girl needed that fatherly love and support from mother, whatever, but what she got was something she could not even imagine. And I mean, this is an extreme situation, but there are lots of such things that go on in our life. Let's say I failed an exam, and no child intends to fail an exam, but then I come home, I get good hearing or reprimands or punishments, and I'm like, it's such a miserable thing to fail. And you see many people having exam phobia or whatnot. Could be associated to some incident like that. It was unprocessed. Child needed warmth, but they got corrections. Similarly, like a teenager may need understanding. They have done something, or they want to do something. They want to go explore the world, but I'm afraid that my child may stray, and I control. So they needed understanding, but they received control. So what the child needed at that point of time is not what they get, and it kind of becomes frozen in their system. Now, somehow we cannot outgrow it. And similar corrections or situations around that event repeats several times. My mother lost her mother when she was 2.5 years old, and there were 5 children. And my mother has a younger brother, so 5 children were kind of taken away by different families to raise. But somehow my mother was a little stubborn. She came back. So she and her younger brother stayed together, and her siblings kind of got taken away by people. And everywhere they went, every family was big enough to manage their own, so they didn't really entertain these motherless children. So she developed this, that I should never ever visit anybody. Nobody really cares. That's like a frozen emotional hurt she has till date. She's 78 now. She still has it in her. She never wants to visit anybody's house. And the smallest of the small comments will throw her off the balance. And anytime she sees a child losing mother, she's super generous to them. She begins to cry. That's it. She cannot. Her own emotional hurts surface. And it's not even recognized. It's like, I don't know, other day she was watching some serial and she started crying because the mother passed away and the children were young. And she said, I don't know why I feel hurt. There is a reason why. It's not addressed, and it stays. And many other situations we may be successful. Many other areas we become successful. We make name, fame, money, whatever. But in certain situations, that unprocessed childhood pain remains unless we process and heal. Because out of these unprocessed, we have these unconscious reactions. Parents may become reactive, education system may become rigid, and you see this everywhere. Something happens and we get stuck in it, and we try to become possessive of it or organize things around it somewhere until I consciously accept it. In other words, I need to build this new capacity within me. And well, when you go to a bit spiritual side, and what Steiner says, all these are chosen by us. They come to us in my space because I wanted to witness this experience. I wanted to experience this experience. However, I forgot. That's totally other area of discussion. But right now, if I am acting in a weird way in certain circumstances, it need not be with respect to people also. It could be within my own case. Something that I'm intensely attached with, and I feel really painful if I go away from it, or intensely hate it. There is some reason. So instead of asking, it helps to ask, why am I like this? But then change that question a little bit. What in me wasn't seen? What did I want to be seen? What did I need at certain point in my developmental cycle? And I go back to that. I go back to that and begin looking at the situations. If my mother understands, okay, she lost a mother, and all other families were busy and they were not probably as mature, they were not present, they were busy with feeding their own families, whatever. And naturally, they would not want to entertain, extra people around. And maybe she was shooed away like 10 times, but now she's 78, and many people have showered love upon her and want her to come now, many, many times more than those rejections in the childhood. And what has happened has happened. Now I want to be happy. Of course, it takes a bit of work, but if I come to that kind of questioning myself and wanting to get over that, because I am hurting, whatever people did to me, I am hurting. It doesn't mean I need to forgive them, forget it. No, I just have to come to that forgiveness kind of situation where I understand why they did what they did. That doesn't mean I excuse them, but I free myself from that situation. So I need to come up with that healing process, going back to those situations, imagining them, clearing them, and only then can my inner self begin to organize around the way I need to progress. Somewhere my unmet developmental moments that were frozen in time begin to get corrected. Only then can I release these stored emotional hurts. Now, when I, as an adult, as a parent, begin working on this, I will make sure to keep an eye on how my child is reacting to situations and do not cause those moments to freeze in my child, because the pattern repeats. I mean, they grow up and they have to heal, and there's no escape from it. So it's better that I recognize it and I come to that understanding and I begin working on it. Thank you.